And we welcome you to another edition of This is Wrestling. Tournament style. Lee Versage alongside Zach McGibbon. It's that time of year. Turkey, Thanksgiving in the U.S. Christmas is coming up, and it means time for the Continental Classic. Zachary, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Mr. Versage. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. As people know from listening to this show, I am the wrestling purist on this show because I do like professional wrestling, which is a crazy concept nowadays, apparently, to a lot of these companies. But one of the things I do like is the Continental Classic because it is very close to that purist style of professional wrestling. So I'm looking forward to breaking this down, and the teams that are involved, or I guess I should say the leagues, the two different leagues that are involved in the Continental Classic.
Yes, you've watched the G1 for a long time in New Japan, and our AEW superfan and enthusiast, I think he calls himself. He's a CC enthusiast. Ben Soubliere, how are you?
I'm great. It's the most wonderful time of the year, Continental Classic time. This is probably like my favorite time of the year in terms of wrestling week to week. Getting to see all these matches. I was in Montreal 2 years ago to watch Collision and Dynamite back to back. Got to see some really cool matchups between Bryan Danielson and Andrade, and Bryan Danielson and was it Eddie Kingston as well while I was there. So this is my all-time favorite week to week time of the year for wrestling.
So we got ourselves a pretty good field here. I think it is one of the best. I know they've only had two others, but when you look at tournament wrestling, Zach, and you look at the Gold League, which we're going to talk about right now, Darby Allin, Pac, Speedball, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, and the reigning and defending Continental champion, Kazuchika Okada. What did you make of when you first heard the Gold League group?
First of all, Lee, I'll speak for the Sub and say you're talking about the unified champion, Kazuchika Okada, that is defending his belt in the Continental Classic.
But he's only defending the Continental, so I think Lee was technically right there.
Don't give Lee the technicalities or anything like that.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why under Ben's name it says the Continental Classic enthusiast, because he would know something like that.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Zach, watch the screen. Okay, what were your first thoughts on this group, other than the fact that Mike Bailey's going to eat all the pins?
You don't think Mike Bailey's going to run the gauntlet here and go undefeated and go into the semifinal and really light it up with whoever is going to come out of the Blue League and have a big semifinal match, maybe even go to the final? I think he's a perfect fit for this in terms of the style of wrestling and whatnot. But like what you mentioned, he's going to be somebody that will eat some pins in this tournament, because at the end of the day, in order to do tournaments like this, you do have to have some pin eaters in here. And I think that's where they're kind of going with Speedball and Kevin Knight. But in terms of the Gold League, just from a pure match quality standpoint, I'm really looking forward to a lot of these match combinations. It was just announced, as I blow up our gimmick and say that we're recording here on a Tuesday night. It was just announced that the opening match on Wednesday is Okada versus Fletcher on Dynamite, which I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's start things off on a bleeping high note. Let's go. I'm in. So we already have that combo. I think the Okada Mike Bailey combo is going to be really good as well. We've seen them have a great match before. Pac is going to have we saw a couple of years ago with the Pac Okada match. Darby Allin will be at a high level. Like, there's a lot of great pro wrestlers in this field in terms of just pure in-ring ability. So I am fired up and ready to go for the Gold League and to see some of these different combinations going at it, because I think you're going to get a lot of quality matches out of this league.
What was your first thought, Ben, when you heard the Gold League announced?
Gold League, I thought my first thought was that Jet Speed is your pin eaters, and they've kind of stacked that side of it in terms of Okada, Fletcher, Darby, and Pac will end up getting padding their stats a little bit because of those two being in there. So I immediately thought of you, Lee Versage, when the Gold League got announced. But also, I was a little bit surprised that they had Kyle Fletcher and Okada on the same side. I thought they were going to do Fletcher and Takeshita in one league. But to go with that match first blows my mind. And this is why I absolutely love this time of year in the Continental Classic is these matches, there's not a dud on them. Whether it's the Gold League or the Blue League, you're getting contrasting styles, you're getting complementary styles, and it just makes for captivating wrestling for me.
Okay, so Ben, first thought on the Blue League, because we saw that Konosuke Takeshita will be in. So will John Moxley, which is interesting. Claudio Castagnoli, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, and Mascara Dorada, all in the Blue League.
I love some of these matchups in the Blue League. As much as I think the Gold League has a lot of heavy hitters, I think Blue League has these contrasting styles that I think is going to make very cool and very good wrestling. For me, Orange Cassidy is somebody I've wanted to see in the Continental Classic since it started. And I'm hoping he can get back to that level where he was defending the international championship week to week, really putting the company on his back and being that workhorse for AEW. So for me, that's one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing. And then the other thing is John Moxley going to go 0 for 5? Could John Moxley actually go and be the pin eater in the Blue League and finally gets the boot from the Death Riders? Or does he, have a serviceable run in it, but then he runs into Claudio, and after that match with Claudio says, "Nah, man, this doesn't work for me anymore," and he takes out the bag and takes out John Moxley. So I think storyline-wise,
coming up there.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to, do the stroke of the mustache, say brother at the end of that one.
So I feel like Blue League has a lot of storylines intertwined in it. As it stands, you've got some conglomeration interfeuding between Roderick Strong, who's kind of part of the conglomeration, and Orange Cassidy, and then you've got the two Death Riders in between. I think one of the most compelling things out of all of the Continental Classic is, are they going to do the switch over again this year where somebody from Blue League faces somebody from Gold in the semifinals and vice versa? Because then it gets very interesting in terms of who your final four are and then who you have going to the finals.
What do you mean? Why wouldn't they do that?
I don't think they did it the first year. I could be mistaken.
Yeah, because the first year was a 3-way final, which I was like, really? We're establishing this with a 3-way final? But they did do it last year. They did introduce it last year. So I, as far as I'm aware, I believe it's coming back for this year, but I will try and confirm that.
What about you for the Blue League, Zach?
The Blue League, there's a lot to like about this Blue League in terms of like what Ben mentioned in terms of storylines intertwining, and you having, the different factions that are in this tournament kind of feuding with each other and having matches. Especially that Moxley Claudio match is going to be interesting to see where they go with that, because of the story that they're telling with Mox of been, losing and not being able to come up big and big moments. And now he's going to take on Claudio, and I think we are all envisioning the impending breakup of the Death Riders here pretty soon. But in all of that, I think it'll be interesting to see how they move forward with that match. I think it's, I'm glad to see Roderick Strong in a tournament like this. I think that's a strong suit of his, and also kind of plays into, we were talking on the last episode during our review of Full Gear, Kyle O'Reilly is not in this tournament, but Roderick Strong is. That's going to be something to look at for that Moxley Roderick Strong match, where they go with that. And plus, you have your guys in Mascara Dorada coming from CMLL, who had that great performance at AEW All Out in Toronto, where this is a chance for him to continue to kind of make a name for himself here in this tournament. And I'm sure he's going to be one of those guys that's not going to get a lot of wins under his belt, but somebody that has a chance to really make himself stand out and have a bunch of victories. So there's a lot to like in terms of as Ben mentioned, some of the storylines intertwining here in Blue League. And I still think you're going to get some quality matchups here. I mean, with Konosuke Takeshita, in this tournament against some of these opponents. Like, I can only imagine some of the quality of matches we're going to see with this Blue League.
And I think you're right, where you get, even if you don't think guys are going to advance to the semifinals, I mean, Dorada and Bailey and Knight. I think I was saying this to Ben on the weekend, that this is a perfect tournament because you can have top guys lose and it's fine. Like, as long as you make the semis, you can make the semis at 4-2, depending on who you beat, which means that even Konosuke Takeshita could lose twice. Like, Okada could lose twice. Like, top guys can lose, like, clean to other guys, where it's like Dorada needs a big victory. Okay, well, Bailey needs a big victory. Well, we can get them a couple here and rise their stock without them advancing. And by the time guys get to the semis, nobody cares if they're 5-0 or they're 4-1. Are they in the semis? And if the answer is yes, did they win their division? Well, if the answer is yes, it doesn't really matter what their record is. And I think that's the beauty of this tournament, that you can allow, we're going to see some upsets. Like, Mike Bailey's going to beat somebody that you're like, wow, never saw that coming. But he's not just going to go 0 for the entire time. So I love that about the tournament. They've paired Bailey and Kevin Knight in the same group, so we're going to see them face off. They've paired Moxley and Claudio in the same group. They're going to face off. And, you get the inner workings of a team fighting each other, but then you get also some of the storylines where the conglomeration, Roderick Strong's got a lot to deal with the Death Riders, and so does Orange Cassidy. So yeah, there's just a ton here. All right, Ben, let's go back up to the Gold League, and we're not going to go through every single match here, but maybe give us who you think is going to be, in the top seed, the second seed, and maybe the guy who up until the last day has a chance to be in and doesn't get there.
So for me, I think the path that I see as most likely to occur is Okada and Fletcher advance, and you get the crossover matches with the Blue League. I think in terms of who's going to be right up there with them, I think it's going to be Pac. I think Darby will collect some wins as well, but I think ultimately it's going to be Pac. He's been off for a while. He just him and Darby just had the match on the pay-per-view, so I expect that Pac is going to be your bridesmaid or runner-up into going into the semis, and that Fletcher and Okada, you're going to kind of have the whole storyline of like who from the Don Callis family is going to advance, and from the Gold League, I think it'll be both.
So, as do I, and that's pretty much exactly how I see this going down as well. That I think Pac gets real close. That it's very possible that on the last day, like, he's tied or he'll lose out in some way that really isn't like him getting pinned in the middle of the ring to lose out on the final night. I think he gets real close. It's hard for me, Zach, to think that anybody but Okada and Fletcher are coming out of this league.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in an alignment with everybody here about how this is looking. Okada and Fletcher seem like locks to me to go on to the next round and be the semifinalists for this Continental Classic tournament. Just makes a lot of sense, especially Okada is like the most dead set lock for me out of all of them. Like, continuing on with this title reign, they've been pushing the greatest tournament wrestler of all time gimmick on him. It all just makes a lot of sense for it to be those two. But I like that idea of Pac just getting close. You could sell me on the idea, maybe even Pac being in the second place spot, and then this could maybe transition to our Blue League picks, and you have John Moxley that's first in the Blue League. And if they do the crossover where you have John Moxley and Pac in one semifinal, and that could be one of those things where Moxley could lose again, and you can have Pac in the final, and that could be another sort of thing that goes against Moxley and his relationship with the Death Riders, because this guy, everybody's beating him, including a member of their own. Why do we have this guy leading us? I could be
Right.
sold on that, but I don't think they're going that far just yet. This is something with the Death Rider story that's kind of been slowly simmering. So I'm going to pick Okada and Fletcher.
All right. What about the Blue League, Ben? So those are my picks as well. But I like your thought, Zach, that, all of a sudden you looked at Moxley's, maybe in first place in his division, but he lost to Claudio in the one match that, has an L beside him. And then all of a sudden he faces Pac and he loses to him too. And it's like, yeah, okay, this is the Death Rider story even more, but I still have a tough time going away from Fletcher and Okada. Ben, from Takeshita, Moxley, Claudio, Orange Cassidy, Roddy Strong, and Mascara Dorada. What do you see?
Oh, I know we chatted about this before we knew which side of the brackets or which side of the leagues everybody was on. I can see a path where we get Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita in the finals, or Kyle Fletcher and Okada in the finals. But looking at the matchups and like what is possible, for me, something that would be really engaging is that Okada Orange Cassidy match on the crossover. So I guess I'm going with Takeshita and Orange Cassidy coming out of the Blue League.
Okay. Interesting. I wasn't expecting Orange Cassidy to be the second name there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like you're going to have I think what's going to end up with this one is you're going to have a lot of people trading wins, and Mascara playing spoiler to somebody, and Orange Cassidy gets the crossover, kind of reestablishes himself as that workhorse. And then you get the match between him and Okada, which I think would be awesome. And I think there's a reason that they didn't put Fletcher and Takeshita on the same side, is they want to build to that match.
What about you, Zach?
I like that thought process, actually, because correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, but I don't think we've gotten an Okada Orange Cassidy match in AEW anyways. Maybe if at all.
They've teased it a whole bunch, much like they've teased Okada and Takeshita.
Yes.
But yeah, they've teased it a whole bunch. They've, had the reunion shot where you got to give the people what they want, and Okada flipped off the crowd instead. And so for me, that is a match that I really want to see, and I hope that it's something that can happen. And maybe it doesn't happen in this tournament, and it's something that happens down the line. But for me, just looking at it, I feel like the inner feud between Moxley and Claudio is going to result in them kind of trading pinfalls with some of the other guys in this tournament, and Takeshita and Cassidy kind of come out of it.
Yeah, I like that idea quite a bit. I'm definitely leaning on Takeshita, so I'll spoil my final anyway. Like, I'm pretty confident it's gonna be Takeshita Okada in the final. And that's where they're kind of building to that match. How we get there in terms of everything underneath, I think could be fascinating, because again, I could be sold on the idea of Moxley not making out of the tournament too. If you really want to sell the story of him just being on this losing streak and not getting in his winning ways and not coming up big when the moment is needed. The idea of Jon Moxley being so close to that second spot, he just needs that second spot to get in. And maybe it's Claudio they're the final match, and Claudio is the one that eliminates him on the final day. I think could be very intriguing. You could also throw, if you wanted to play off of the Kyle O'Reilly stuff, maybe you do Roderick Strong that's in there as the final match for Jon Moxley, and it's Strong that's the one that gets Moxley out of the tournament. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. I was leaning towards Moxley getting in, and maybe, if they wanted to play spoiler and keep Fletcher out of the semifinals and do Pac, and then do a Pac versus Jon Moxley match. But I think you sold me on the Orange Cassidy Kazuchika Okada matchup in the semifinal there, Ben. And I'm also going to pick the Takeshita and Cassidy coming out of this Blue League. That's an interesting proposition, because as you mentioned, Orange Cassidy and Okada, as far as I can recall off the top of my head, they haven't had a one-on-one match anywhere, let alone in AEW. So, and I think that creates an intriguing matchup, a unique matchup, and a matchup when you look at it, it's like, wow, I didn't know I really wanted this, but now that I see it, I kind of want to see how these two wrestle with each other. And like you mentioned, the background with Chaos too, and New Japan and all that. So I like that idea. You sold me, Ben. I'm going in on that.
Which means it's absolutely not happening.
Correct. Yes. That is
now I've
my
ruined
magic
it for
touch.
myself.
Yeah, that's my magic touch that I bring.
Yeah.
So,
So again, for me, like you guys, Takeshita's a lock from this group. I think he's the biggest lock of all of the wrestlers right now in this, that to make the semis, he's the biggest lock. Now, the other one. I don't mind the Orange Cassidy thing. I'd like to see it. You guys, I won't say have sold me, but there's definitely a thought process that could lead us to, Orange Cassidy. But I always think to myself, okay, if Takeshita and Okada, because they're definitely trying to get to that at some point in this tournament, why did Kyle Fletcher lose the TNT championship? Is it because of this title and this tournament? Maybe. Who else are you going to put there that, to me, that kind of needs it? Like, who needs a big tournament and to get up into a high profile semifinal match? I'm going to pick Roderick Strong here, coming out of the division, because for me, with the Kyle O'Reilly being injured by Moxley and Roderick Strong, like, kind of getting there, do we see Kyle O'Reilly again in this tournament? And it's like they've almost built one of them up. Now they're going to build the other one up. And maybe, just maybe, we get back the really, like, fearsome team of O'Reilly and Roderick Strong at the end of it. And they have built Kyle O'Reilly back up to where he's now a bigger attraction than he has been since he's been in AEW. And that's due to Jon Moxley. So I'm going to pick Roderick Strong as the other guy. So I have in my one division, Kyle Fletcher, number 1, Kazuchika Okada, number 2. And in the Blue League, I'm going to have Konosuke Takeshita, number 1, and Roderick Strong, number 2, leading to semifinals, where Fletcher will face Roderick Strong and Kazuchika Okada will face Konosuke Takeshita in the semifinal.
Hey, interesting.
Yeah. And going on to the finals, this is where being the host of the show reaps its benefits. I ask you guys. But now it's my time, damn it. I think this tournament is Kyle Fletcher's. And I think how they're going to get to the big Kazuchika Okada Konosuke Takeshita match is that Takeshita is going to lose, or is going to beat Okada in the semifinals. And Kazuchika Okada is not going to be very happy, and he is not going to let Konosuke Takeshita beat Kyle Fletcher and win the championship that he had. He is not going to let that happen. So he'll make sure that Takeshita loses and a member of the family still has it in Kyle Fletcher, and then we'll get the big blow-off match at some point after the tournament between Okada and Takeshita. So that is my pick. I am picking Kyle Fletcher over Takeshita in the final of the Continental Classic. Ben.
You can sell me on it because I am a big Fletchlight. But I think
You're
ultimately,
what? Hold on. Your internet kind of went. You're what?
I'm in the Fletchlight section.
The Fletchlight section?
Yeah, if I have to explain it to you, Lee, don't worry about it.
I'm gonna have the censor button hover it over top. It's like when I went around on the yeah. It's like when AEW had its debut in Toronto, and I went around scissoring people all over the great city of Toronto, and including first time in-person meetup of Tanner Ryle at that show too. So
nice.
Yes.
So back to what I was saying. Sometimes the most obvious path is the correct path. And so for me, I'm going Okada over Orange Cassidy in the semifinals, Takeshita over Kyle Fletcher in the semifinals, and then Takeshita Okada in the finals. I think everyone's kind of expecting that to occur. And I would be totally okay with Kyle Fletcher advancing. It would be a nice change of pace because we had Eddie Kingston basically go to the finals as the defending champion, defending all of his belts. You had Okada defending all of his belt, or I guess his single belt at the time, going into last year's tournament. So for him to go all the way to the finals and retain again would kind of be a bit of the same story that we've had the last 2 years. So I can totally be convinced of your idea to have Fletcher, Takeshita in the finals. But to me, it feels like they've invested so much in this Takeshita Okada storyline that I feel like that's where they're going with it. So my pick is Takeshita over Okada in the finals, and he becomes one of the greatest tournament wrestlers of all time by winning the G1 and the C2 in the same year.
Man, I want to do, because I'm so in line with Sub on this, that I want to be different. Maybe we're looking at the Ron feud that's being the headline of the Continental Classic. Maybe it's the Ron feud we're looking at here. Maybe it is a battle between two members of the Death Riders in the finals. And maybe, you could find a way to have both these guys eliminated. Maybe, you've had Takeshita come out for the match. That's one of the heel things in the Continental Classic tournament, is that there's no run-ins, but you can add some heel heat to somehow Okada and Takeshita getting involved in each other's matches and throwing each other off. And that way you have these guys never touch, and they still haven't had their one-on-one. And the whole feud is actually about the Death Riders and where that's going next in the Continental Classic. That's what I want to sell you on, and try and be different and say, oh, you all are looking at this too stiflessly.
It's not what you believe, though.
It's not what I believe. I'm pretty much in line with Ben here. I'm gonna pick. It's interesting because I've been thinking about it in my head of like which direction to go. Ben's obviously going with the direction of Okada retaining, and that could certainly be an element to that in that final. And you have Okada be the greatest tournament wrestler of all time. But what if there's heat in the fact that Takeshita beats Okada in the final and denies him that opportunity, and it's somebody that's within the Don Callis family that denies him the opportunity of being able to be the greatest tournament wrestler of all time, and that's where the heat kind of burns up, and Okada wants his belt back. So to be the guy that's different and to embrace my gimmick of not getting predictions correct, I will be the one that says Konosuke Takeshita beats Kazuchika Okada in the final of the C2.
Is that not what I said?
I thought you said Okada was the final.
No, I said Takeshita's going to win because he's already won the G1, and then he's going to win the C2 in the same year. And
I thought you were talking about Okada. I was tuned out. I'm not going to lie. But
Zach,
okay, then I'm totally in line with Ben.
Listen to your own show, okay? While others are talking on your show, listen to them as well.
I got
Don't
people
just listen to your own voices.
I know. I got people texting me and all this.
What does that matter during a show? What?
I'm sorry. It just threw me off.
No, who texting you? Who texted you? I want to know. What was so important in the final of the Continental Classic?
He was ordering a tonight.
It was and that comment did absolutely throw me off. I'm not gonna lie. No, it was my roommate asked about changing cars while we were recording, and I was like, we could save it for later. So
good.
Save it for anyways, later. I'm in line with the brother. Yeah. I'm in line with the Sub then. I thought you were saying Okada solidifying himself as the greatest tournament wrestler of all time, because that's the storyline that they've been pushing with him and with this tournament of the G1s, but I guess I confused Okada with Takeshita, but I'm also picking Takeshita against him.
Kyle Fletcher wins the tournament. 1 vote. 2 votes for Konosuke Takeshita. No votes for anybody else.
No.
But it is a fun time of year, and as you said, Ben, for me especially this year, there are no duds. Like when you watch the weekly television shows, no, Like, this will make me watch Collision more than any other like month span or whatever, because I don't want to miss some of these matches. It'll come at World's End, the finals of the Continental Classic. This has been fun. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
No problem. Sorry for my technical difficulties a couple of times on this call, but yeah, looking forward to a great month of fantastic wrestling.
Zach, always a fun time. Look forward to all of this tournament and to make sure that we're getting the best. And I think we are. I think this is the best lineup, at least on paper, that I've seen so far. So looking forward to it. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you. And to go in line with the Sub's apologies, I will apologize to him for not being fully attentive to his pick in the final, because I think we were in simpatico more than I thought we were. So I appreciate that. I will not change my pick for the sake of the podcast, and we will go down on this ship together and have the same picks. But I appreciate you coming on, Sub, and I did enjoy this conversation. It is good to have these different sort of branching ways that they could do this story and different ways that they could do this stuff with the Continental Classic, and telling it all in the ring, Lee. It seems like a lost art nowadays. So I am very appreciative of this tournament and what it could do. So I'm looking forward to it.
One might say you are thankful for this tournament.
Yes.
On the eve of American Thanksgiving.
Correct. Yes.
I was going to say, I thought that this was a great chance to fletch it out.
Jeez.
Now Lee's gonna be Googling Fletchlight as soon as he gets off this call.
Yeah, no, let's we encourage the listeners not to search that up. Especially if they're
encourage the host not to look it up. I don't know what this is.
Yeah. Especially at work.
Cow.
Don't search it up.
Okay.
I'm shocked it got through the censor. No right to censor over here.
It is the age factor here. Old guy doesn't know quite what the young guys do, but that's okay.
Yeah.
When Fletcher wins a tournament, I guess I'll have lots to say. But until then, this has been your AEW Continental Classic preview on This Is Wrestling.